I'm delighted to welcome you on behalf of our incredible Board of Trustees of Women at Njpac and our more than 2,000 members. We are a sisterhood for good, a dynamic and diverse community of women that includes many of the state's most influential business, philanthropic, and community leaders. Women have always had a seat at the table at Njpac, something that was demanded by our 9 founders of our board. And since our founding more than 26 years ago, we have raised more than $54 million for the Arts Center and its arts education programs. Some of you may have joined us for our last big event, our last big in-person events, Friday, March 6th. We had 350 women gathered in Prudential Lobby for our 2nd annual Gathering of Givers. And the following Monday, March 9th, we screened the film Olympic Pride, American Prejudice about the first 2 women of color who participated in the Olympics. It feels like a lifetime ago, but the spirit of that community of women and all of us has continued as we shut down the Arts Center. We launched a new series of virtual workshops in the spring and fall, A Breath of Fresh Air, Healing Through the Arts, that featured spoken word, music, writing, visual arts demonstrations led by women in our community. And our next workshop will be on January 16th, and we do hope you will join us. Over the summer, we celebrated the 100th anniversary of women's right to vote with a Pioneers of Protest event that featured Governor Christy Todd Whitman, Secretary of State Tahisha Way, and Congresswomen Mikey Sherrill and Bonnie Watson Coleman. The event was attended by thousands on Zoom and Facebook Live, which we are also streaming on Facebook Live this morning. And the highlight of our fall was our Spotlight Gala at Home, which raised more than $1.8 million for Njpac, a remarkable accomplishment thanks to so many of you on this call. Thank you. So we gather again today virtually for our annual meeting and a celebration of our amazing board, both new and old, and our beloved retiring president, Marsha Wilson Brown. We will start first with a dynamic leading ladies panel featuring some incredible women in our state who have been fighting nonstop for the past 9 months to save the arts in our great state of New Jersey. They have raised millions of dollars to create the New Jersey Arts and Culture Recovery Fund that will be used to support hundreds of nonprofit arts and culture organizations, along with thousands of artists and people who work in the arts, all of whom have sustained incredible losses due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But before we get to the panel, it's my great pleasure to introduce John Schreiber, the president and CEO of Njpac. John?
There, I'm unmuted.
Hi.
Good morning, women at Njpac. Thank you for allowing me to say hello at the top of this annual meeting. The work that women in Njpac do every day under Sarah's leadership and Marsha's is indispensable to the mission of the Arts Center. And especially in the past several seasons, the curation of important conversations and celebrations has added so much to our work as an anchor cultural institution. So we are all of us at Njpac grateful to women at Njpac for enhancing our mission work on a daily basis. Everyone is going through their own pandemic right now, and I can't imagine what this health crisis has meant to each of you. It's anxiety provoking, it's unpredictable, it's as Barry Ostrowski said to me just 10 minutes ago when we were on the phone, it is highly contagious. So if I have any useful advice, it's what you know, and that is, in order to stay safe, you got to stay home. You have to put yourself out of risk because one never knows, especially these days, who might be asymptomatic and how the virus might catch us, one of us. So I hope you are all staying safe. I hope you're staying well. The good news is that the vaccines, Barry told me this morning, the first doses of the vaccine, for example, at Barnabas are going to be available as early as the next 10 days to 2 weeks. So that is good news. There is indeed light at the end of the tunnel. But that does not in any way diminish what each of us is going through in this unprecedented crisis. So folks say to me, gosh, the Art Center's closed. What do you do all day? You know, so, and the answer, of course, is remarkably and surprisingly, we've never been busier. We're virtual programmers every day of the week, whether it is art programming, social justice programming, community programming, education programming. We've had to reinvent what we do for a living based on the pandemic, but I'm so grateful to every member of our team for being creative and intentional and keeping the Arts Center present as a really useful and effective programmer and community asset. I'm grateful to each of you for sticking with us, for continuing to support us with your philanthropic gifts. We haven't earned a dime in ticket sales since the middle of March. And so we are more dependent than ever on philanthropy in order to remain sustainable. We will get through this, absolutely. But one of the ways we're able to is through your continued support. And so, for example, the remarkable work that Women in Njpac did with our Spotlight Gala at home, happily we had a really high net return on that gala. And that is so important to keeping us afloat at a time when the only money we have coming in is philanthropy. I want to thank Marsha Brown for 4 years of really incredible service as president of Women at Njpac. She is a unique, effective, and remarkable community leader. She is one of a handful of people that I will turn to whenever I have a problem that I can't figure out. She always knows. She always knows A, how to comfort me, but B, how to advise me in ways that are invariably helpful and empathetic and useful. And she's been such a great colleague to all of us, and she will continue to be a great colleague, but she'll get less phone calls from Sarah and me as time goes by relative to our business. So thanks, Marsha, for everything. I also want to congratulate and thank our outgoing trustees for their service. Again, these are women who I hope aren't going anywhere, but now will be obliged to attend less meetings if they choose to. And of course, it's Patty Chambers, who was one of the founding women of Njpac, and is always there for us, often quietly. You know, if Patty turned up the volume, I think we'd all sort of, oh my, had that, but we all know that she is there as an advisor at all times. And thank you, Patty, for everything. Dina Lowenbach is there. She is our original volunteer, right? Our OV, and her service is inestimable. If I could pronounce it, I'd say it, inestimable. And again, I know how much Dina loves this place and loves all of you, and we love you right back, Dina. So thanks for so many years. And again, please don't go anywhere, okay? Stick around, we need you. I also want to welcome Faith Taylor as the new president of Women at Njpac. We first got to know Faith when she was a senior executive at Wyndham, and she helped bring Wyndham in as a philanthropic supporter of the Arts Center. Now she is a distinguished professor at Montclair State, and she has such a broad wealth of experience and such a deep interest in community. And I know that she will be a really effective and successful successor to Marsha. And those are pretty big shoes to fill. I want to thank our panelists this morning. These are 4 women that I have been able to get to know on almost a weekly basis since April. Evie Colbert and Sharnita Johnson and Allison Tratner and Anne-Marie Miller. There are no more effective advocates for the arts, no more creative advocates for the arts than these women. And I know you'll be fascinated to hear about the journey that they've been on over really the past 8 months to help see to it that the nonprofit arts sector, that all our tens of thousands of culture workers get the support they deserve. The arts will be the last sector to recover post-pandemic. So this work that they are doing, that many of you are involved in, this is ongoing, and I know that you will learn a lot and hopefully get inspired to get engaged. That's all I got. I probably spoke too long. Thank you, women at Njpac, for everything that you do. Thanks for what's next. And I'm now going to turn it over. Am I turning it over to Marsha or Sarah? You tell me.
Well, I'll take the baton, and thank you, John, so much for all your leadership and all you've done for Njpac and for our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So it is now my pleasure to introduce our president of Women at Njpac, Marsha Wilson Brown. There she is. Thank you, Marsha. We are so delighted you've agreed to, as one of your last acts, moderate this wonderful panel. So I'm going to turn it over to you, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And thank you, John, for your kind words. You're right. I think we will get through this, and the arts will have a lot to do with it. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Women at Njpac Zoom Hollywood Squares Leading Ladies annual meeting. We all have our own individual window panes, and so that's part of our gift to you this morning. But we're so excited to have you here. And although we're living virtually these days, I'm just so delighted that so many people are joining us. My understanding is that we have over 250 people registered. And this event has always been a very popular one. So the thanks for today's event goes to our awesome director, Sarah Rosen, and her talented team, the creatively brilliant John Schreiber and his talented team, and of course our trustees, I love them so, our supporters, our partners, and our friends, many of whom are with us today. So let's get started with this extraordinary panel of women. I am so delighted to welcome these 4 amazing women in the world of culture and arts, among others, who have graciously agreed to come sit with us and chat a bit and discuss how they came together because of their mutual commitment to New Jersey's arts community. Together, they helped to conceive and create the New Jersey Arts and Culture Recovery Fund, an incredible initiative that has already raised $3.5 million from public and private sources to keep the arts alive in the wake of coronavirus. So it's my pleasure to welcome them to our Women at Njpac community. I call them my sisters. I told them I was going to say that this morning. We don't have to look alike to be sisters, right? So let me first start with Evie Colbert. She's the chair of Montclair Film and a member of the Governor's Restart and Recovery Commission. Sharnita Johnson, Arts Program Officer of the Geraldine R. Dodge Foundation. Anne-Marie Miller, Director of Advocacy and Public Policy at Art Pride, New Jersey. And Allison Tratner, Executive Director of the New Jersey State Council on the Arts. So they have much longer bios. I didn't want to take away time from our discussion to read that today, but you can find out more about them in the materials that we sent out to you previously. So good morning, my sisters, and welcome to Leading Ladies, which you all are, of course. And thank you for joining us today. So let's tell our audience about this story and how it unfolded. The four of you have done some remarkable things on your own aegis to help arts organizations in the state. But today, we are celebrating what you have done collaboratively to help create the New Jersey Arts and Culture Recovery Fund. And this is a fund that will help provide support to arts nonprofits in the States. It's an important story, and including the conversation that brought you all together. And we're going to explore that for the next 30 minutes. We'll start with about 20 minutes of panel discussion, and then we'll have about 10 minutes for questions and answers. And we're encouraging our audience to submit their questions in the chat function. So let me begin with asking each of you, how did you come to appreciate the impact that the coronavirus might present to arts organizations and then decide to get involved in assisting them through the way that you have? So maybe we'll start with Allison.
Yeah, I'll jump right in. Thanks, Marsha. And
Okay.
thank you, Marsha, and to the women at Njpac for having us, and especially to John Schreiber, who is really central to this group of women coming together. And we can get into that in a minute, but thank you for having us. It's an important conversation to have, and I'm glad to be here. So really to kind of briefly answer your question, we could be here all day, but I'll be brief. We at the State Arts Council, for those who aren't familiar with who we are, we're the largest funder of the arts in the state. We have hundreds of grantees on our roster, organizations of all sizes from north to south, central, and artists as well. And so right in March, when things started to really get clear that there was going to be a sort of universal shutdown, we got calls and emails that we were fielding real concerns. There were, if I had to categorize two buckets of concern that arts organizations were having right off the bat, it was, well, health and safety first. How do they, if they're going to stay open, because no one knew what was going to happen, how do they make sure their patrons, their artists, their staff, their crew, how do they keep them safe if they're going to be open? And if they're going to close, which we all know now did happen, how do they survive financially? This is just a complete unknown. And that was March. And so we at the State Arts Council, we quickly tried to mobilize our national partners, our state partners, local partners to figure out, okay, we can't be a resource alone. Financial, certainly we can't be a resource alone, but even in information sharing and networking, which we knew was going to be critical, how do we do this? And so, quite frankly, right off the bat, we turned to our partners at ArtPride, which we tend to pretty often on the regular turn to Anne Marie Miller and the team at ArtPride to come together, put our heads together and figure out, okay, what's our next move? And like I said, John Schreiber just kind of poked his head up and said, hey, I'd like to convene all of you, start talking regularly, like he said, weekly, and we have. And that was really the beginning of it. We decided to come together and see what kind of formal data we could collect with regard to needs in the field so that we could create a plan to try to help.
Sounds good. Anne Marie, maybe?
Sure. We really didn't know how long this was going to last. In the beginning, when we first decided to ask questions, we wanted to keep it really simple, but we knew that we needed to figure out how much loss there might be. And so the questions were basically 30 days out, 60 days out, and 90 days out. None of us knew it was going to be like 9 months later. And so we got some information and we're able to also look at Americans for the Arts national survey because they were doing something at the same time, and arts groups from New Jersey were responding. And we were beginning to learn at the very outset that about 53% of arts organizations were really worried that they weren't going to survive this. And we were able to find out that, 90 days out between individual artists and arts organizations, they were estimating about a $30 million loss. And that actually helped us in terms of being able to ask for support.
Shanita.
Thanks, everyone. I'm so glad to join you today. And I'm going to echo a lot of what Allison said, because as the second largest arts funder in the state, we were hearing from our grantees as well about the uncertainty. We really didn't know sort of what was going to happen moving forward. They were very, very worried, again, about the safety of their team and the artists that they work with, and keeping their staffs employed. And I'm also on the board of the Grantmakers in the Arts, which is a national association of arts grantmakers. So I was tuned into what was happening nationally as well. And it looked pretty dire, even at the onset. I mean, these organizations have been doing exactly what philanthropy and others say do, have a diverse funding stream. And their funding stream, their earned income revenues were obliterated overnight practically. So we were definitely getting sort of some frantic calls and emails, and you're just compelled to want to do something.
And do something you all did. Evie, what did you do?
Well, what Sharnita just said actually is a perfect segue. My first exposure to the pandemic was from the arts organization that I'm involved with. I'm the president of the board of trustees of Montclair Film, and we run a yearly film festival that is always the first week of May. And because it's in May, we do most of our seasonal hiring in February, but primarily in March. March is when we print our big catalog and when we hire all our workers. And so the very first week of March, we had a really tough call with our board and said, maybe we should postpone. And sort of like you said, Marsha, we thought, well, we'll postpone maybe a month. But luckily we did decide to postpone, which meant we didn't spend some of the money that we would have spent preparing for the festival. But, we were immediately struck with how that's our major source of income. What do we do? How do we survive? Like every other arts organization, every other nonprofit, everybody, right? What does this new reality look like? So we pivoted, we began doing things virtually, much as Njpac has done. And, I guess you could say maybe treaded water. And then we figured out how to do an online festival this fall. But that immediate gut punch of you won't have the revenue that you thought you were going to have, I think has been devastating to arts organizations, because they just don't, how do you reinvent yourself and still find revenue? I think arts organizations are pretty good at creating, that's what they do, but finding revenue in this era has been really, really challenging. So that was my first kind of foray into it. And then I had the brilliant idea of calling John Schreiber. It was my great honor that Governor Murphy asked me to join his Restart and Recovery Commission. And when I did that, I realized that I was pretty much the only person representing the arts. So I called John and said, hey, why aren't you doing this? And we created our Monday morning group. Thanks to John, this has been my posse, and it's been amazing. So I'm grateful to these women so much.
Well, you're quite a posse, and I think we're all grateful that you left your individual perches to come together and mobilize yourselves into the force that you are. I always say, and we say this at Njpac, that the arts humanizes us. It creates a basis for us to have a civic society, and for you guys to come together like you have to make sure that there's a platform for that mission is really incredible. I salute you for that. So let me just start asking some of you individual questions. I want to start with Allison, because as the executive director of the New Jersey State Council on the Arts, it's just a beloved organization. And we were talking earlier about one of its greatest fans, Clement Price. You know the arts community in the state better than almost anyone. So I just want to ask you to talk a little bit about how you see the pandemic as creating an opportunity, and even maybe some challenges, but an opportunity to mobilize the arts sector. And also talk about the future of state support for the arts.
Sure. Just, you can't let that comment go about Clement Price without acknowledging that.
Absolutely.
Clement Price was a former chair of the council, a beloved leader, a visionary, and a man that we all miss. And so, yeah, so we, as you say, in our perch, We have the great privilege at this point. I need to thank the Murphy administration. Governor Murphy and his leadership team have really shown this year their understanding and their belief in the importance of the arts as an essential sector, and that the survival of this sector is really important for New Jersey's complete recovery. And to that end, New Jersey's, the State Arts Council, we saw an increase in our budget for the first time this year in over a decade. And so that really speaks volumes, understanding that the arts are really part of pandemic relief, part of pandemic recovery. And if this, survival of the sector is certainly not a guarantee due to the financial strains.
Mm-hmm.
When we look forward to an economic recovery, it's an essential sector for all the reasons I believe we all know. But it's also, it's critical to returning to some sort of quality of life that we all really desperately need. The arts, as you say, are the humanizer. So if I think about where we are now as a state, New Jersey is ranked among the top 7 nationally as far as public support for the arts. Again, a nod to Governor Murphy and his understanding of the need to infuse critical dollars now more than ever. I think that we are at the State Arts Council, we're in the process now of distributing some federal CARES dollars, which is something that came as it's a critical lifeline right now. Of course, we can always say that it's not enough, but it is certainly going to help at this point in time. As far as the future of arts funding in New Jersey, I'm certainly optimistic and hopeful. I'm going to to answer that question though, I'm going to throw it over to Anne Marie.
Yeah, we really are grateful for Governor Murphy's support, and we're counting on him as the next budget comes up to continue to increase the State Arts Council funding. At the same time, we're really at Art Pride, which is a service organization and advocacy organization. So we have issued, and I'll put it in the chat box, a link on our website where you can contact your federal legislators, the House and the Senate members in your district, and ask them to, right now when they're back in session, to come up with the next phase of COVID relief, and to make sure that there's continued PPP and that there's money going towards unemployment and to help small businesses, including our stages, which have found a way to get into the next stimulus package. So that's really very important moving forward.
Thank you for that, Anne Marie. That was very informative. I want to ask Sharnita to build on a little bit on what Allison began to talk about from her vantage point, because there's a narrative here. And I think that, Sharnita, as co-chair of the fund, you might be the best person to talk about what were the conversations that sort of led you guys to form the recovery fund. It could be a story. Maybe we'll do a documentary on it. I don't know, but the personal is always important to share, and I think everyone can relate to that struggle. And so, can you talk a little bit about those conversations that you guys were engaged in that led to the formation of the fund?
Sure. As I said, Marsha, we really started to see sort of the dire consequences and the impact that the pandemic was having and was going to have on the art sector. And sort of nationally, a couple of funds had started to emerge. So I think Denver had the first Arts Recovery Fund, and then New York raised, I think, $75 million in 2 days. So we really realized that New Jersey had to take care of New Jersey. And I also co-chair the Culture Funders Affinity Group of the New Jersey Council of the Arts with Tammy Herman of the State Arts Council, who is another woman warrior that has been working with us on this. And so we, after getting the results of the 30, 60, 90-day report, we really said we need to take this to our constituents. So New Jersey doesn't have a lot of private foundations, staffed foundations, but there's certainly a lot of philanthropy here. And I want to acknowledge that there are lots of women on this call that were working behind the scenes to help raise money for the fund over time. So I just want to acknowledge that. So we pull together convening of the arts funders in the state and those that were interested in arts funding, just to talk about the stats that Anne-Marie so eloquently sort of talked about. And we talked about the idea of establishing a fund in New Jersey and just floated the idea. We weren't sure we would get any traction. We convened these funders, about 40 funders, and we said, you know, we really think we need to establish a New Jersey-based fund. We don't know that we're going to get dollars from any place else. And immediately Jeremy Grunin raised his hand and said, I'll commit. And it sort of started a snowball. The Dodge Foundation made a contribution, Prudential Foundation made a contribution. And so that sort of started the fund. We started with the 4 of us. So it was Jeremy Grunin, Tammy and Allison, and Nicole Butler from Prudential. And we've expanded the steering committee since, but it was a small and mighty group that really started to go out and have these conversations. And we talked to anybody. If anybody wanted to learn about the establishment of the fund, we were there. And we really started to think about what this fund could look like and sort of how we would define the support categories. And we really knew that people wanted to keep their staff employed. So personnel, organizations were going to need resources for PPE and all sorts of other services. So many of the arts organizations in the state pivoted immediately to doing work online. They were putting content online, and that doesn't mean sort of holding up your iPhone and filming a dance performance. It's a little bit more technical savvy involved. So these organizations just did not stop creating, did not give up, continue to provide services and programs for kids and lifelong learners. And we knew that that was important to support. So really that was the impetus of the fund, that we got together and put our best thinking and really started to just get out there and ask for dollars to support the fund.
No, thank you for that narrative, because I have this vision of, you know, you all sitting around a table, you know, maybe it's light, you got the pencil in your hand, or somebody's got their like this, and you're trying to figure out, what do we do? Where do we go from here? And I also love your term women warriors, because, you know, I'm thinking about what Harriet Tubman said, that if one woman could turn the world upside down, then all of us can certainly turn it upside right again. So I think this is a great, great story, and I'm glad that it's unfolding here. Let me go to Anne-Marie. In your role at Art Pride, you've been working on issues of advancing public policy to support New Jersey's arts sector for many, many years. So I want to ask you, because I think you might keenly know this better than most of us, what have you learned about the impact on the arts in terms of the emotional toll of the pandemic, and what is motivating them to stay the course under this crisis?
Sure. You know, suddenly people were out of their jobs, and it was like, you know, what are we going to do? And we're home, and we're teaching our kids, and we're doing all sorts of activities. So it's, you know, a lot of the arts people got straight to work, you know, making masks, protective PPE. You know, there was but the stories just kept coming in, you know, about, I'm not going to be able to pay my rent. You know, for my rehearsal space, for my other space. But I think the things that really hit home emotionally hardest were, you know, the disproportionate loss of, you know, loved ones, and the loss to people of color. You know, I was hearing about staff at Newark Symphony Hall losing loved ones. Someone at Newark Museum, you know, and there were teachers calling. Actually, a teacher on Facebook, you know, saying, "I just need to scream. Can somebody just call me?" And I was like, "Sure," you know. And she was in the middle of her very first conference for art teachers, and she said, "I think I'm going to have to close the organization. What am I going to do?" You know. So it's a matter of like, okay, like step back, let's think. You know, and the creativity of our sector is unmatched. So, you know, between the work that they were able to do, and, you know, even the dance community coming together and offering yoga classes for healing and meditation, NJPAC, I attended several of the healing sessions that the women's group has that were fantastic. All of a sudden, I'm making collages of my loved ones. I think that one of the artists, Daniel Scott, did. So that the emotion is high, and it has been high throughout the whole time. But you know, we've met it with creativity.
Mm-hmm. You certainly did, and you have my elbow. You know, we can't touch each other, right? But we're there. So let me go to Evie. We're happy to disclose for those who did not know, Evie, that you were the only member appointed to the Governor's Restart and Recovery Commission who worked in the arts. So that's a good thing. But tell us how you helped to inform the governor and the First Lady about how do we just begin to develop a process statewide of recovery for the arts sector, including raising funds.
Sure. Well, as Allison said, I'm first of all need to acknowledge the enormous support from the Murphy administration for the arts sector. It's not just during the pandemic. Even before the pandemic, he had raised the budget for the State Council on the Arts for the first time in a decade. So there's real demonstrated support in this administration for the arts. But one of the things that has been challenging, and when I found myself on the commission, the first few months of our work was appropriately focused on frontline workers and how to protect people in New Jersey who were taking care of the sick, as well as preparing to open the schools. So during the summer, I very much felt like the arts would be next. So we had to wait, because I think that in terms of the commission and the administration's focus, it was on getting people back to work, getting people back to school safely. And as we've said over and over, the arts community by nature is a voluntary experience. So just as John Schreiber said a little while ago, this sector will probably be one of the last to reopen because of that. So I basically realized that there wasn't really the bandwidth or the time within the commission for me to really focus on the arts. So I asked Governor Murphy if I could create a side working group, a subgroup, which with his blessing and with the help of Joe Kelly and Candace Alfonso, people from his administration, Allison and I co-chair a working group of arts leaders across the state. And this has been a really wonderful collaborative process. We basically share what is working and what is not working. And I've been particularly struck by the collaborative quality of the arts in New Jersey. This is a wonderful community that is absolutely ready to help. There's never a sense of, well, I figured it out, but you're on your own. It's a very supportive group. And so basically we've been trying to raise money for this fund. That was another way to kind of get some funding while we were waiting for the administration to get some other things done. And I also want to acknowledge that the commission itself has given me an opportunity since the fall. I've presented to the commission about the fund. I've also spoken to the administration about the need for CARES dollars. So we've got some CARES dollars now that Allison mentioned. So, you know, I think there's still a lot to do, but we are now in the actively fundraising phase of this. And I just this Monday spoke to the CEO Council, which is another subcommittee of the commission, asking for CEOs in the state of New Jersey for some of their financial and philanthropic support for the recovery fund. So we're on our way. There's a lot to be done, but now we're really I feel like we have a little momentum now.
Absolutely. I know there's a lot to be done, but thank you for what you've already started to do. We're closing in on the end of this wonderful panel. So I'm just gonna ask two quick questions. Evie, you again, can you just talk a little bit about what the goals are going forward for the Recovery Fund? And then Sharnita, can you just talk about how people can apply for this fund?
Well, I think I'll speak just personally. I'll let Sharnita or Allison talk about how the fund will be distributed. But what I would like to say to all of you on this call is this is a fund that individuals can support as well. And if you are a year-end giver and you're thinking of your philanthropy right now as we approach the year-end, please consider contributing to this fund. My husband and I and our good friends, John and Tracy Stewart, we made gifts back in the summer to help support this fund. And I just encourage you all to think about whether you might be able to find some money, because the need is overwhelming. We've already, we could probably spend 3 times what we've raised in supporting these arts organizations. So that's all I want to add, is that this is not over. And as we know, it's going to keep going. So if you're able to support, I think we have a link to donate that will show up in the chat. So please consider supporting us on that. And then Sharnita can speak on next steps.
Sure. Thanks, Evie. So we are looking forward to releasing the first round of grants this month. We've had a really robust application pool and process, and so we're excited about that. We have raised about $3 million, and so we're going to continue to raise money, and we're going to continue to disperse those funds next year. As long as we can raise money and the need is there, we're going to be dedicated to doing that work. So the first round of applications were due for this first session was yesterday, but just know that we will continue to accept applications moving forward. We will be setting up new deadlines, but folks can still go on the website, NewJerseyArtsCulture.org, and look at the recommendations and look at the criteria and look at the frequently asked questions. If they have questions, we're still answering questions along the way. So again, we hope that this fund can continue to grow. We've had a great amount of support toward the end of the year. I know lots of people do a lot of their end of the year giving right now. So I also encourage you to consider the fund. The link is going to be in the chat. And we're going to be here as long as we're needed.
Well, that's a good note for us to end this part of the panel on. You will be here until you are no longer needed. Let's say that. So I just want to thank you guys so much, for your leadership in this area, for your boldness of purpose, and even for your bravery, as someone in our chat mentioned recently about the work that you guys are doing. We have a few minutes for a couple of questions, really just 1 or 2 questions. Do we have any on the chat? If not, let me just see here. So, okay, we don't have a question. I think everyone
have one question that was sent to me.
Okay, great. Yeah.
I'll just read it aloud. I'm trying to copy paste this.
Okay.
It says, if the pandemic continues for a significant amount of time, along with donation efforts, are there discussions on how to create avenues of revenue earnings through the works of art?
Okay, who wants to take that one? That's a heavy lift somewhat, but
I'll give it a try. I don't know if it's going to completely answer the question, but I do, before I even go there, I want to make one additional point. Anne-Marie talked about the 30-60-90 report, data research report that we did to get a sense of the economic losses. And this does relate to the question, I promise. But I think, we have since gathered more updated data, right? As a group, we've reached out to the field to figure out, okay, so 30-60-90, this has lasted longer than 3 months. Mm-hmm. Now know as recently as yesterday that it's hundreds of millions of losses recorded by arts organizations. Now, that is because, as John said, most organizations haven't been able to sell a ticket or make really any profits at all since March. But that doesn't mean the innovation has stopped, right? Creativity, as Anne-Marie said, it's unmatched in this sector, and innovation, and I think the term was intentional reinvention. This continues to be incredibly impressive in the arts sector. Organizations going virtual and finding safe ways to deliver on their mission, to engage their communities. What does it mean for the future? How do we build sustainable models for this innovation so that it can be monetized and help these organizations really financially survive? I think that's yet to be seen, but I think it is incumbent on us and this group of women, and then also the sector at large, to be partnering across sectors, right? To be partnering with our colleagues in the technology sector and in the tourism sector and in the history sector, because we're all facing the same kind of challenges with how, if we are an industry that relies on bringing people together, it's part of what we do. What does that mean now? And I think there's been a lot of incredible innovation and creative thought on how to do this sort of in the short term. In the long term, I think those kinds of innovations are still revealing themselves, and we're all going to figure it out together. You know, I don't have a final answer on how this is going to look, but I have incredible confidence because the impressive reinvention that we've seen sort of on the fly these last months, if that's any indication, we will certainly figure it out.
Right. Thank you, Allison. That was a very encouraging note. We really are going to have to end now. Our time is up, even though we're starting to get questions. But I'm going to suggest that because the link is up to the Recovery Fund, that people can submit questions there to the link, maybe, because some people have asked about how many people are going to be funded, what's the average amount of the grants. We just don't have time to explore that right now, but I'm going to refer them to the link. And if they do want to share anything with you guys about other ideas they have, because a lot of times, you know, when the bold people step out front, then everyone wants you to handle everything. So already we're getting questions about whether you guys will think about a mentoring collaboration network for arts administrators. And so I'm sure that there'll be more questions like that, and you're shaking your head, so that's a good thing. So hopefully the person who asked that question in the chat function feels that that's an answer for them. So listen, everyone, thank you for joining me on this panel. I so enjoyed being with you. I wanna end the way I began by calling you my sisters. Again, thanking you for the great work that you're doing for the arts. And now I'm going to turn the virtual floor over to the hands of our leading lady trustee, Christine Chambers Gilfillan, for the business portion of our meeting. Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marsha, and good morning. And on behalf of the Governance Committee, I am delighted to give a brief report before our celebration of retiring board member and President Marsha Brown. First, we would also like to recognize and thank the following trustees who will be retiring from the Women at NJPAC board, including Beverly Baker Johnson, Robin Cruz McLaren, and Mary Beth O'Connor, who served as president from 2016 to 2017. In addition, we have 2 longtime members who will become emerita trustees after deciding it's time for them to step down. My mom, Patty Chambers, who is a founding member of the Women's Board and who has served on the board for 26 years since 1994, and Dina Lowenbach, who was NJPAC's first volunteer and created the volunteer corps at NJPAC. She has served on this board since 1996. Please join me in thanking all of them for their many years of service to women at NJPAC. In appreciation of their work, we have delivered to their homes a small gift that was designed and crafted by Newark-based Glassroots. The Governance Committee is also pleased to announce our new trustees, Raina Barclay, Mary Lynn Clark, Zanola Harper, Tammy Jones, and Lori Spoon. And last but not least, I'm thrilled to announce that Faith Taylor will serve as our next president. Please join me in congratulating Faith. And Faith, would you like to say a few words and help us in our tribute to our dear Marsha?
Thank you. Thank you, Christine, for your leadership on the Governance Committee. We have made, as you know, a tremendous amount of progress in this last year. I'm excited to serve as the next president. And I understand that leadership is about service and it's about the sisterhood and moving forward. I really understand that we stand on the shoulders of the 9 founding members and the women who really committed over 31 years ago to build this community. And their vision and what we've accomplished has been outstanding. I'm also very proud of the trustees and the work that we've done during this pandemic, because it absolutely has been a challenge, but everyone stepped up to the challenge. And that makes me so proud to be a part of the group and the organization. And I want to welcome our new trustees, as well as say thank you to our emeritus trustees for all they have done. And I'm thankful that you are not going away. I also want to really take the opportunity to recognize Marsha Wilson Brown. You have been an incredible president, inspiring, and you have a spirit of gratitude that permeates throughout the entire organization. And last, we just have fun. What are we about? We're about the arts. And what your spirit of gratitude has resulted in, a commitment. We've had a commitment towards the arts in terms of raising millions of dollars. We've had a commitment towards building community with Newark and programming such as the healing arts. We've had a commitment to the sisterhood of good. I love that. And what we have done is we've rebranded women at Njpac. And I really believe that it's built on the work that you've done with us, Marsha, in the last 3 years, and the group of women that we have, and the new women that we have to move us forward. It's truly been a partnership with Njpac, and we are a recognized leader at the table with the CEOs. And I thank you for your service and everything you've done, and it's really been incredible. So I'd like to take this opportunity to also now introduce Nancy Cantor. She has a video, and she's the chancellor of Rutgers Newark, and we're going to take a couple minutes here to hear her praise Marsha. Here we go.
If there was ever anyone who deserved to be celebrated, it was the amazing Marsha Wilson Brown. So I'm thrilled to join the women at Njpac and all of you in doing exactly that. Everyone wants Marsha to work with them, lead with them, be with them. Why? Well, we all have our reasons, but we know that one of the real reasons is she gets everything done. She's the quintessential collaborator. She's a visionary in the truest and most active senses of the word. She envisions a future in which every person, every organization, every city, state, and nation can become its best self. And while it may be true that lots of people can dream like that, Marsha also has what so few others do. The ability to see how to realize our dreams, the will and the energy, the perseverance to do the hard work that it takes to get there, and the capacious spirit it takes to inspire the rest of us to come along with her. I know we've seen Marsha do that time and again at Rutgers Newark, whether she's strategizing how to help our DACA students, whether she's thinking about the amazing 50th anniversary of the minority student program in the law school that she used to lead, or whether she's leading us to achieve our higher buy and live goals for Newark 2020. And don't let her kid you, she did the leading. And I know you must be nodding your heads out there because Marsha makes that kind of impact everywhere she goes. I know she's been so many things to Njpac, as a bold leader of women at Njpac, and a driving engine behind the Spotlight Gala with the amazing results this past year, as a sage sounding board and a convener of community conversations among public leaders, artists, community leaders, and community members, always bringing to the table all of her talents as an artist herself, as an activist, as a thinker, as a civic leader, and as everyone's wisest confidant. So as someone who could not be more grateful and feel more indebted to her for everything that she's been, to everyone in Newark and in this community broadly, and in our institution at Njpac, let's cheer for the one and only Marsha Wilson Brown. And while we're at it, how about a big birthday cheer? Yay, Marsha, as her birthday was yesterday. Love and hugs, my dear inspiration.
Awesome. So I'd love to just take a couple of minutes here to introduce Dr. Karma Warren, her daughter, and her niece, Nia. Yes, Marsha, this is your family. This is your life. Here they go.
First, I want to just say what's on my heart. I am awe-inspired by this organization, the work that you do, the power that each one of you brings, that bears arts and cultural advocates. I am grateful for the many dedicated works that you do. Now to the task at hand. I just want to say a few words about the best mother and grandmother that we know, Marsha Brown.
As great as we all know her to be, please know that my grandmother, Marsha Carey Wilson Brown, is a rare work of evolution.
I am blessed to have a front row seat of her journey. I chuckle as I witnessed her evolution into this regal woman. She has gone from corporate to academia, been a sage advisor to leaders in their industries, and as an undercover world-class diva from time to time.
Although she has met the likes of President Barack Obama and ranking members of Congress, she's advised governors and mayors and has counseled the captains of industries, she has still remained humble.
At her core, Mommy is still the same people's advocate, sister of the Black Panther Party, labor activist, anti-establishment, high afro-wearing, strong-willed woman that she was when she came to Newark in the 70s with me in tow.
Grandma Marsha believed early that God had to be a woman. God birthed the whole world, organized it, populated it, provided for it, reigned over it, and took pain for it all without the required recognition, and all within just 7 days. That has to be a woman.
Mommy has always tried to follow the will of God. In our family, she serves as a messenger of the gospel. We cherish her not only for who she is, but for who she has made us become through her example and strong words of guidance and encouragement.
We are blessed to live in her legacy as we may forge new paths in the wide trails that she blazed.
Thank you for honoring our mother,
grandmother,
daughter,
sister,
aunt, and friend, our Marsha Brown. We love you.
Love you, Grandma.
Beautiful. Woo-woo. Love it, love it, love it. So I want to take the moment to also share with you a special gift. I know, Marsha, that you are an artist, that you love to sing. My family also, I sing, but more importantly, we love the arts. And I have a daughter who is an artist. She just got her MFA at Columbia, but was part of a virtual exhibition by Christie's. And it's Say It Loud is 22 exceptional artists around the world, African-American artists. And so she did a portrait of you. And this portrait that she did, if you can see in the background, it is all of your family pictures are back there. And you can see it's interwoven throughout the entire portrait of you as a collage. And she did this as a special gift for you, recognizing you and knowing that you are part of your history, of your family, of your life. So this is for you. I'm not sure when you'll see Karma, but she has it. And looking forward to you receiving this specially designed portrait of you by my daughter, Kiyomi Taylor. Marsha, we want to give you a couple of minutes to say a couple of words here.
You must be kidding me. This is, you guys, anybody who knows, I don't even know what to say. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be a part of a community of people who are serving others. That's the only thing that matters. I mean, I can't, if I allow my ego to get into this, I'd be, thinking about just, I can't, I can't. I just can't. I thank you guys for allowing me to be in this space. Thank you, Karma, and my granddaughter, Nia, for your kind words. I just thank all of you all. I don't like to be in the spotlight at all. And so all I can say is thank you. And I hope that I can continue being of use, of service, because that's the rent we pay to be on this place, to be in this place. So thank you all, and God bless you. I'm not gonna cry, definitely.
Well, we have one more thing. We're not done yet. Yeah, we are not done. So as a tribute to the great work that Marsha has done, we assembled our students, right? We're all about arts. So we assembled students from the Arts Ed program, past and present, to honor her. What you're going to hear is by these students who participated. They included the Wells Fargo Jazz for Teens, the Hip Hop Arts and Culture team. And so we said, what is more appropriate than actually having them develop this? So we have teens, even Sarah's son, John Rosen, did a saxophone solo. You have vocalists, you have bassists, you have beatboxers, you're gonna see modern dancers, a DJ, and MC. So here we go. Let's roll it, as they say.
Everybody has a part to play. As they say, we walk strong even though our cities was in decay. From the days of Brother Huey and Sister Davis, Marsha Brown, she hold it down, check the pavement. But Black Power movement is like music, don't abuse it, just use it. Push for the limit, aim for the sky.
So we can dare to fly, so we can dare to fly. Marsha, speaking for everyone when I say you did good. Now take a break. You've been working since adulthood. Every time I hear you speak about our rights, I can hear your voice go to a different height. Contested races advocates for black and whites. And well, that's only a couple highlights. You showed the whole world a new light. And honestly, I want to join in on the fight.
Push for the limit, aim for the sky.
So we can dare to fly, so we can dare to fly.
Push for the limit, aim for the sky.
So we can dare to fly, so we can dare to fly.
Push for the limit, aim for the sky.
So we can dare to fly, so we can dare to fly.
Push for the limit, aim for the sky.
So we can dare to fly, so we can dare to fly.
Push for the limit, aim for the sky.
So we can dare to fly, so we can dare to fly.
Push for the
get ready, there's a train coming. You don't need no baggage, just get on board. All you need is faith, with the wheels are humming. Don't need no ticket, Oh, oh. Open the doors and doorsteps. There's hope for all. The love, the love. Wash my sins away. Happy day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Marsha, for everything that you've done for us. What a remarkable piece of giving yourself to us in a way that we will don't have words to thank you. And we hope that this was a little bit of a way artistically to share that with you. I want to close today by just saying how thankful we all are, all the gratitude we have in our life. We at Women in Njpac every year host an annual toy drive for La Casa de Don Pedro, and we hope you'll join us in supporting that. We've also this year supporting Newark Working Kitchens to help buy meals to support frontline workers in Newark and delivering meals to people in need. So please, please join us in supporting those two events. We hope to see you again virtually at one of our next events. We wish you and your families a joyous and happy holiday. We invite you to unmute if you would like to just share your greetings with each other and with Marsha. And congratulations, Faith. We wish you all well. Take care.